HowToCatholic.
And welcome to the HowToCatholic podcast. Yes, it is time for another HowToCatholic podcast. I haven't done one in like 4 weeks maybe. Actually, I had one that I recorded last week, but when I was looking over it, the quality of it was so bad that I'm like, I really can't release this. Like this is a terrible recording. So I've scrapped it for now. If I really want to, maybe I'll bring it up at some point and just throw it on YouTube and you can judge for yourself. But here we go. Time for another HowToCatholic podcast. My name is Tony, and I just had a crazy week where I did some pretty awesome stuff. The past couple weeks I've been working on creating a website, and it's a step up from my blog. I had a blog, catholicbadass.blogspot.com, if you still want to check it out, where I was posting all these things, and I was at a leadership retreat a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you know what, let's make a website. I feel like God is calling me to just make a website. And I want to get people involved. I want to get my friends involved, and I want to have us all write stuff and create things and make videos and talk about Catholic things, because I feel like that is what we really need to do, because it's really hard to get a group of Catholics together to talk about Catholic things unless you're like in a Catholic setting. Like I have friends who they live together in a Catholic house and it's easy for them to talk about things, but I feel like it would be so cool to just get a bunch of Catholics together and to make awesome stuff, make awesome videos and write things and talk about the world from a Catholic perspective. And people do that on their own. Like there are some great websites out there written by awesome Catholic writers and bloggers. And I think, and I would like a piece of that. I would like to help show the world what it means to be Catholic and how we Catholics are pretty awesome and how we love to have fun. So the website right now is ain'tthatcatholic.squarespace.com, and I'm working on getting rid of the Squarespace thing. It's a weird deal Squarespace has going on, but you know what? I'm liking it. People seem to be enjoying it, and I'm working on creating some really awesome stuff. But enough of that for now. Time to get down to the meat of the podcast. And the first thing I want to talk about today is strength. This all started when I was watching an anime over the weekend. I started this brand new anime series that I'm loving right now. It's a very weird title, and if you want to judge me for it, go ahead, but I'm really enjoying it. The series is called Maidsama. And that, yeah, it's an awkward title, but it is a pretty epic anime. The plot of the story is that a girl named Misaki becomes a student body president of a formerly all-boys school, and she gets this reputation of being a dictator to the boys who formerly could, they could cause trouble and do whatever they wanted in the school because it was all guys. But now she's trying to bring order to it and making sure that girls feel safe there and making sure more girls will want to keep coming to the high school. And she works really hard, and she still has a bad reputation around the boys, but she works really hard, and she's a really cool character. And on the flip side of being a student body president, to help out her family, she works a part-time job at a maid cafe, where she dresses up like a maid every day and serves guests, calling them master. And it's really embarrassing for her, so she won't tell anyone until a boy from her school, Takumi, finds out her secret. But he decides to keep the secret to himself because he enjoys teasing Misaki. And it's basically them getting into a bunch of misadventures involving her being a maid or things happening at the school. And while I was watching this anime, I began to think to myself, is this main female character, Misaki, would she be considered a strong female character? Because I've watched a lot of animes that have strong female characters. Black Lagoon, Spirited Away are two examples of fantastic animes that have great female leads. But would Misaki be considered a strong female lead? On one hand, yes. She would, because she's very independent. She's very hardworking. She's very strong. Everyone loves how dedicated and hardworking and loving and caring she is. On the flip side, though, there are several instances in the show where she has to rely on Takumi to come and save her from random situations. And that's more of a damsel in distress situation that people might look at and say, oh, this is a show where she has to get rescued by a boy. So she's not a strong female character. No, she's relying on a guy, like one of the early Disney princesses to come and save her or something. But I'd like to take another opinion, and that the times where Takumi wants to come and help her, it's not like, oh, well, I have to go and save her now because that's my duty as a guy. No, it's because even though he loves teasing her, he does care about her a lot. Some might even say he loves her. I don't know. I haven't finished the series yet, so we'll see what happens. And I really think that tells us something about what strength really is. Because there are times when you think you can be the strongest person in the world, where you don't need anyone's help. You love to be independent. I'm that way. I love being independent. I love being able to do things on my own and not have to rely on others. It's just an unfortunate side effect of growing up. I felt like I had to rely on others for everything. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't want anyone's help. I just want to prove that I can do these things. But really, we all need help at some point in our lives. And it's not weakness. It's not weak to ask for help. It actually shows strength when you need to ask for help, because when you're asking for help, you're asking for help because you know that you can't do everything. You may be doing something that isn't one of your talents or one of your skill sets, and so you need to ask for help. There are a couple times in this anime where Misaki has to ask the boys for help, or she needs Takumi to come and help her out of a situation. And they're always willing to help because they know how big of a gesture it is, that she's not one to ask for help. But by her asking for help, that takes a lot of strength. Asking for help isn't weakness. It takes just as much strength to ask for help as it is to try and do something all on your own. And maybe that's the better thing to do in some situations. It's better than trying to, put on an entire event all by yourself just because you don't want to bother anyone. No, in that situation, I'm sure there are plenty of people who would want to help you and help you do something and be a part of it. That's what I'm thinking about my website right now, is that, if I could, I wouldn't mind running the website all on my own, because currently I am. I'm, the main writer for it. But my hope is that I can get more people interested in writing for it and helping me create things for it. My roommate Justin has shown interest. He says he wants to help me make some cool videos for it, which I'm really excited about, because as much as I love doing things on my own, it's more fun and it's much more rewarding to do things with other people. Even Jesus, he had his 12 disciples. He was on his own for a little bit doing his ministry in the beginning. He was all by himself. But think of how much he was able to do when he was with his 12 disciples. Like the loaves and the fish, do you think he would have been able to pass out all that food to people if it was just him? It would have taken him forever. And then to collect it all up again by himself? No. He had his disciples with him. And even after he was gone, his disciples carried on his legacy. If the Son of God has enough strength to ask for help, then why don't we ask for help? Why don't we show that we are strong and want to help others even? There's no shame in asking anyone for help. I feel like I look down on people sometimes because they do ask for my help because they're not strong enough. But if you look at it, and I need to reevaluate my priorities, because, just asking for help, that's something big. And I should always love to help. I do love helping people. I love working with people. If someone asks me to help them do a task, I'm totally for it. And yeah, there was nothing wrong with asking for help. And besides, that person who might be asking for your help, they probably have different strengths than you. And, there may be some day when you need their help and they're able to help you because what you need help with is one of their skills, something that God gave to them so that they can help serve others. That's what all of our talents are. All of our strengths and our talents are really meant to help and serve other people. And if we're not using them to help and serve others, we're misusing our gifts. So there is strength in asking others for help. And there is never any shame when accepting help from others. Let's all think about that. And let's go help each other, okay? All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the How to Catholic podcast. And it's time for the nerdier side of things, where we talk about things that are nerdy, but Catholics can like it too because it's really good stuff. Yeah, okay. There is no secret that I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's one of the best shows on television. I have a whole article about it on my blog and on my website about how you can really see God's presence in that show. Not literally see God's presence, but you can see Christianity represented in that series and how awesome it is. I love Avatar, and I also love the spin-off series, Legend of Korra, which I just watched the 3rd season a couple weeks ago. I marathoned the entire season in one night, and it was so awesome. Like, okay, I've been watching this show since the beginning. Season 1 was pretty good. Like, it was a great groundwork for the series as a whole. Season 2, not so much. It was a little bit lower. It didn't quite meet the expectations I had for the series, just because it was missing some key elements to it, in my opinion. 3rd season, however, oh my gosh, they really ramped it up. Like, it was so cool. There was so much going on in the series. There were all these different elements to it, all these different big reveals and all this cool stuff happening. And it was so awesome. I was so excited. I was really sad to see the show finish. But luckily, this upcoming Friday, in a couple days, they are premiering season 3. No. They're premiering season 4 of the series. They are premiering season 4 of Legend of Korra. It's the last season. I'm kind of sad because I think this series should go on for a while. And actually, I saw a really cool Reddit post where someone's like, why doesn't Legend of Korra become like Doctor Who? Or why doesn't this whole thing just become like Doctor Who, where, we regenerate every couple of years and we get a new avatar, that does 3 or 4 seasons, and then we move on to the next avatar. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a brilliant idea. Because this could literally go on forever. And I really would like to see how, as technology advances in the avatar world, how the avatar would adjust to their role in, a technological universe. How crazy would that be? And I don't know what they're planning on doing with the series, but, it's such a popular show and such a popular concept. I really think they could keep going with this for a while. Not even make it stale, because the formula they have for the show is pretty awesome. But unfortunately, I'm not here to talk about the series. I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about the dark horse in the Avatar universe. Many of you know what I'm talking about. The M. Night Shyamalan, The Last Airbender movie. And if you're an Avatar fan, you're probably shuddering right now. And if you're not an Avatar fan, you're probably like, what is he talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. After the original Avatar: The Last Airbender series ended, M. Night Shyamalan made a live-action Avatar movie, which we were all very excited about. Many of my friends, we were all like, oh my gosh, we're going to see a live-action Avatar movie. It's going to be so awesome. The trailer looked great. All the CGI effects looked so cool. We were all really excited. And then it sucked. It flat out sucked. It was a really bad movie. And even reviewers who had never seen the cartoon before hated it. It is like one of the lowest scores on Rotten Tomato I have ever seen. The special effects were okay, but the acting was bad. The bending design was bad. There was so much wrong with it. And the problem is, like, M. Night Shyamalan, he had all the source material right there. It was a cartoon all laid out for him. He didn't have to think of anything. I mean, if this had been just like a one-off, like there was no cartoon series beforehand, it would have been a much better movie, I think. But because there was already this history of the show, people hated it. But what I want to bring up right now is that when we heard that a live action Avatar movie was made, we kind of should have realized it was going to stink. Like, if you look back on it and think about why we loved the original cartoon, it's pretty obvious to see why it was going to stink. Okay, first off, the movie was live action. And I love a good live action movie. And I love a good live action adaptation. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, not the most recent one. No, not the most. Actually, I haven't seen the most recent one, but I've heard it's pretty bad. But like the one where they had the mechanical suits, there's one of those in the Seattle Experience Music Project right now. That was a great movie. Like, I loved that as a kid. It wasn't like the most technological thing, but because, it was all done in giant suits, made it so cool. Anyway, we kind of should have realized that it was going to be different and probably wouldn't be as good. The reason for that is because it was a cartoon. And a lot of the, joy that we got out of the Avatar Last Airbender series was that it was cartoonish. It dealt with, serious adult issues, but it was also a cartoon and had very cartoony moments. That's what we loved about it. There was so much humor and joy. And really, if they had tried to emulate the same, cartoonishness that was in the series, in the live action movie, the movie would have probably turned out more like one of the old Godzilla movies where everyone was overacting and, moving their arms around in weird ways and doing all this crazy stuff for no apparent reason, other than the fact that that's how things were done and it was the only way that would make sense. So we really should have expected that because it was live action, things were going to be different. And that's reason one why we should have expected the Avatar movie, to stink so bad. Now, the second reason didn't have to do with the series itself and more had to do with how much was in the series. There are 20 episodes of season 1 of Avatar, which the movie was based off of. If you say 25 minutes an episode, that's 500 minutes of television. The movie itself was only 103 minutes long, and that was kind of pushing it, because at times I was getting kind of bored with the movie just because of how long it was, despite all of the, horribleness that was actually going on in the movie. So I think one of the reasons that the movie didn't live up to the legacy of the TV show was because it had time restrictions. It had to cut out a large part of what made the show awesome. Zuko's past had to get reduced to like a 5-minute scene, and Aang's backstory and him learning waterbending and going through all these adventures had to get really cut down. And that's what made the original cartoon awesome, was that, it was a cartoon. It was an adventure. We got to see them go through all these different trials and meet all these different people, go to all these different areas. It was awesome. But in the movie, they had to stick to a certain time limit. I mean, I doubt anyone would want to sit through a 3-hour-long Avatar The Last Airbender movie. I might, but at some point I would get bored. So they had to make cuts somewhere, and some of those cuts led to us not enjoying the film as we would, because we couldn't see some of our favorite parts or interact with some of our favorite characters. Like the Kyoshi Warriors, they were a deleted scene in the movie. Like if for some reason you have the DVD of The Last Airbender. Watch the deleted scenes. They have like a minute of the Kyoshi warriors walking towards Appa as they're flying off. Sokka just looks down and he sees Suki, and then he like looks there, and then they leave. That's it. That's all you get of the Kyoshi warriors. You don't even see Cabbage Guy. I would have loved to see Cabbage Guy in there somewhere. So, time constraints. Second reason. Finally, we're kind of at fault for why the movie sucked. Like I said, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a beloved series by many people. It's an awesome series. One of the best kids cartoons. I don't even want to say kids cartoons. It's one of the best TV series I've ever watched. It's intriguing, it's interesting, it made me laugh, made me cry, and there are a lot of people who share that opinion. And because we had such a high opinion of the show, it made the movie really hard to live up to. Someone who might have gone in and had never seen the cartoon before, gone in and seen the movie, they would have been like, yeah, that was a good show. Well, the rest of us were like, they didn't have this, Sokka wasn't funny at all, and it's crazy, but we're kind of at fault. Yeah, and it kind of sucks that, because we love the show so much, that something that was made out of love for the series had to do so poorly. But in the end, we didn't like the movie. We had high hopes for it, and they were let down. Just because a lot of things that we expected to happen, some of the most basic elements of the show just were not there. And they couldn't be put in there either, due to time constraints or due to the fact that it was a live action movie. In some parts, like, when the Earthbenders at the Earthbending camp are trying, there's like 6 of them, and all they can move is one little rock. Like, where did that even come from? Why didn't they move like, a giant boulder or anything? All they moved was one little rock. I don't get it. But it's what happened. We had high expectations for the show. And because of our high expectations, the movie was terrible. And we're just going to have to live with that. Many of us have already struck the movie from our minds. And so everything's going to be okay. But on the other side, we do have Legend of Korra. It's going to have one more season. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for it. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Be sure to check out my new website, ain'tthatcatholic.squarespace.com. And I hope to be posting more stuff there, and hope to be having my friends and people that I know posting awesome stuff there. So stay tuned for that. And thank you for listening to this podcast. Have a good night. Peace and love.